All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, or welcome to or welcome back to Tuesday Bro Tuesday. You know, this used to be a live call-in show, and it's never going to go back to that, and I don't know why I keep mentioning it. I just like to remember that we tried that one time. And it didn't work so well, but wait a second. There you go. Now you know what show you're watching. This is Tuesday Bro Tuesday. This is the 100% dedicated to news and advocacy as it relates to the vape world, to the tobacco harm reduction world. There's been a lot going on, and I'm sure we're going to touch on some of it, but I have a very special guest today. We have Alex Clark from CASAA joining us today to talk about, the state of the industry, the state of CASAA, what we can all do to help, what we can all do to help each other, to help CASAA, to help this cause sort of move forward. I said way back in 2009 in that vlog, in the last vlog, I posted that video from 2009, and I knew that this was going to be an uphill battle from the very beginning, and that hill seems to just be getting steeper and steeper and steeper. So we're going to need more people and more of us and more advocates and more activists pushing up that hill, because it just seems to be getting so steep. But thank you guys all for being here. Thank you to my moderators in the chat. Danielle, I see you there. Angela Garrity, British Eyes, I see you there. If we all see Jeremy V, he might be able to put together some timestamps, but really we're going to have Alex on. So that's really the only timestamp you need is when Alex gets here, which is just going to be a few minutes from now, because I wanted to read something that I got from CASAA this morning. And if you're a member of CASAA, then you also got this email. But if you're not a member of CASAA, this might all be new news to you. But CASAA sent out an email this morning that says, to all of our members, all things considered, CASAA has had a good run. Since our inception in 2009, we've helped elevate the voice of consumers to a degree that top officials at the Food and Drug Administration make public statements acknowledging the benefits of vaping and other smoke-free alternatives. We need your help to keep this energy going. As you well know, CASAA membership is free. We provide all of our services and information to the public without asking for much in return. We don't sell our members' data, and we don't put up paywalls. We rely 100% on voluntary donations. So when we tell you that we've seen an almost 40% decline in donations over the past year, understand that it means our ability to continue providing information and services is in grave danger. In light of this, we're doing something we've never really done before. We're asking you, plainly and simply, to donate to CASAA today. Right now. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video as well as in the chat. How about we do that right now? Boop, right there. I see other people put in the chat. I appreciate that, Addy Tooney. CASAA also has a merch store, which I'm sure Alex can touch on a little bit more as well. But they've got some sweet merch going over there for CASAA. But there's a link in the chat. There's going to be a link in the description to donate. The truth is, if every person that opened this email donated just $2, CASAA would have the funding to stay operational for the rest of the year. Even if half of those people signed up for monthly $2 donations, our operating costs would be covered and we could start implementing plans for expansion. What does expansion look like for CASAA? Maybe that's a question better served by our guest, Alex Clark of CASAA. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on just right now. No sense in beating around the bush, right? Let's get Alex on here. Where are you, Alex? There's Alex Clark. Everybody welcome Alex Clark to Tuesday Bro Tuesday. How you doing today, Alex Clark of CASAA?
I'm doing good. I'm learning the YouTube chat room while talking at the same time. Today's been an exciting day.
It has been. There's been a full-on sort of CASAA social media campaign, like a real social media campaign. We're getting donations for CASAA.
Yeah, this is an all-out fundraising campaign.
All-out fundraising campaign. So, for anybody watching, anybody in the chat who's not familiar with Alex, Alex, why don't you just give a little background on who you are, what you do. I'm assuming you were a smoker. I'm assuming now you're a vapor. Tell a little bit of your story. Who is
Sure.
Alex Clark from CASAA?
Well, at the moment, I'm a disheveled 44-year-old white male with COVID hair.
Yeah.
But I am also a former smoker. I smoked for 21 years. Essentially, I started smoking when a little bit before I got my driver's license. And I made a conscious decision when I was 16 years old and being very nervous behind the wheel of a car that I wanted to drive more than I wanted to not smoke. And so I actually picked up smoking as a means for managing stress and anxiety. Um, and that carried with me throughout my adult life. And in 2013, on a whim, I went to a couple of gas stations near my old job and picked up a Logic and an Enjoy King, and decided to try those. And my transition happened over the course of like 8 hours. The first time I took a puff off of one of those, a cig-a-leg, it was clear to me that this was something that I could probably very easily switch to. Um, I had tried to quit smoking probably a month or so before that. I had noticed after 3 years of using nicotine gum on public transportation and in restaurants and in places where I couldn't smoke in my apartment, I had noticed that I was going entire weekends without having a cigarette. I was just using the nicotine gum. And so I planned that, I ran out of cigarettes on a Friday, went home, stuck with the nicotine gum all weekend, came back on Monday to work, and I got about two-thirds of the way through my day, and I started feeling high. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Like it was, I withdrawal. At the time, my job involved, I worked for a van rental company. And so I'm driving around full size, Ford Econo lines. You were, I don't know if you toured at all, but I'm sure you're familiar with the Econo line, the workhorse of the American fleet. Um,
Right.
so, the full size vans and all that, we're moving heavy equipment around a parking lot I've got employees that I need to worry about and clients. So I broke. I had to race up to the nearest gas station and buy 2 packs of cigarettes just so I could get through the rest of my work day without, causing some sort of incident.
Right.
Uh, and that's, I think, like a lot of people experiencing that is kind of, it's a little bit soul crushing. I mean, it's hard to not feel like through something. At least another month or so until I saw one of the people that we did business with, heavy smoker, just like me, used to walk into his shop all the time, ashtrays overflowing with cigarette butts. And I walked in one day and he was puffing on this fake cigarette thing. He had completely switched. And so I said, well, if it's going to work for him, then I have to give it a try. And this was 5 years after I saw e-cigarettes for sale in truck stops. So I was definitely one of those people that sort of dismissed the technology as just another gimmick. And I have a couple of these stories where delay in purchasing or finding a product or help for substance use disorder, all of these things led to me using the most dangerous products for another year, another 5 years. So that my personal experience informs a lot of how I feel about the urgency of this issue and the fact that right now, at least for the time being, the vaping community, which includes the industry and especially shop owners, these are folks that can convert people who smoke today. You can bring them into these stores, give them all the expert advice they need to make a good decision about what products are going to help them, and they can walk out that door not smoking anymore. And so I think it's absolutely important. That's based on my life experience, as well as what we know from science that people continue to have access to these products, and that's why I got involved with
Yeah,
CASAA.
that's incredible. And vaping is one of the only, I think it's the only thing I've ever seen where people reluctantly maybe purchase one on a whim, or oh, you should try this out, I guess, and then they'll accidentally quit smoking.
Yeah, I love the accidental quitter stories, because I am one. But it really is that just like, oh, oops, I stumbled into not being a smoker anymore. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Whoops, I'm suddenly not a smoker. Not only that, but it's enjoyable. I enjoyed quitting smoking.
Yeah, it took me 3 years to get to a point where I would actually prefer the nicotine gum occasionally over a cigarette. I remember one of the first times. I vividly remember what I was doing when I was like, oh wait, like I'm not actually reaching for a cigarette. I'm reaching for a piece of gum. But I was still a pack a day smoker and going through a sleeve of nicotine gum at night. And so that's 3 years is a long time to be trying to quit smoking.
Yeah, it really is. And see, that's what I think is amazing about vaping is it works no matter where you're at as a smoker, whether you're a casual social smoker and you go through like a pack a week, vaping will work for you. If you're a hardcore pack a day, 2-pack a day smoker, there's products and technology and nicotine levels that can get you to be an ex-smoker as well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, even finding, even before we get into the conversation about nicotine content, I think, flavors play a really important role there. And, like a lot of people, I thought that I was looking for a replacement for my Cools. That's why I went for mint. But as I was exposed to more flavor options, I found out I really do. I kind of have a specific flavor profile that I like. And that definitely helped. It helped me keep coming back and trying new products and sticking with it. So yeah, the flavors as well are, I think, inseparable from all the other benefits you listed.
Flavors are going to be the hardest to defend, and it's hard enough trying to explain vaping in general and harm reduction in general, but I think flavors are going to be the hardest, most difficult thing to communicate to people, because I was the exact same way. I first started vaping. I got clove e-liquid, I got tobacco e-liquid, I got tobacco menthol e-liquid, and they were all not great, just kind of gross. And it wasn't until I got root beer that I kind of stepped back and went, wow, I really enjoy this. This is why wasn't I looking for this earlier? And I even talk to vapors now who, if they run out of their favorite e-liquid, they'll reluctantly vape something else and not really enjoy it as much. It's crazy how critical a role flavors play in making the switch successful.
Yeah, even with snus, I've since stopped vaping. I use snus now, and so I have a couple of tins that I'm using today. This is a sort of a citrus honey flavor, and this is advertised as a spiced cherry flavor, which is Dr. Pepper. So that's why it's called Americana. It tastes like Dr. Pepper. I had run out of those for a while, and I have some a mint vanilla that I have been using, but it's a mint tobacco with vanilla kind of flavor. I prefer these kind of goofy flavors over that, 100%. Honestly.
I was the same. Have you ever had like real Swedish snus from Sweden? Because they like weird flavors there.
That's what these are. You can't get these flavors in the United States. So yeah, I got a bunch up here. I got this is kind of an original, just regular snus flavor. It tastes like bergamot and tobacco. Bergamot is an orange flavor. This is you can't see it because of the required warning statement, which I'm going to easily peel off the cap here. I'm actually this is technically me doing product promotion, which I'm not supposed to do, but this is called Epoch. It's all white. It's tobacco, but it's all white, and this is kind of dried out. But this is what the pouch looks like, and this is actually tobacco. It tastes like licorice.
Yeah.
So there's tons of great smoke-free products.
There really is a lot. I snooze when I have to. I snooze usually on airplanes. That's my big snooze time. I went to Sweden and I picked up a bunch of snooze flavors that I thought I would like, and turns out that some of them are just terrible, and it kept me from using it. Again, like the flavors, whether you're vaping, whether you're snoozing, it really does matter. It really affects your enjoyment. If you enjoy it, you're going to stick with it and use it instead of combustion. You know, I got this white grape lingonberry something or other in Sweden that I thought was just going to be so amazing, and I took it with me on the plane. I said, no, this is what I'm going to use on the plane. The first pouch, I couldn't even do it. I didn't even use it the rest of the flight because of the flavor.
Wow.
Yeah,
right,
stay away from anything
that,
white grape. It was bad. It was just a bad scene. Well, that's cool. So that's good. There's a little bit of background on Alex, and now you CASAA. This is your full-time gig, right?
Yeah, and people may not know that you are partially to blame for me doing the CASAA.
Oh, really? Let's tell that story for sure.
So, like a lot of people who were sort of, blown away by vaping when we first tried it, I spent the entire weekend, my first weekend, just diving in. And that's where I found your channel and some other reviewers. And I spent all weekend long trying to find, details about the technology, and is this actually safer? Is this a scam? I was a skeptic coming into this, and also looking for recommendations about products I should buy. In North Jersey in 2013, I think my closest vape shop was actually in Manhattan or Queens, which is, if you've ever had to commute in and around the New York metropolitan area, depending on when you're going to those places, it can be a colossal pain in the ass. So it wasn't really all that accessible to me. I had to order online, and on your recommendation, I actually got the Smokeless Image starter kit, and that was where I figured out, oh, this doesn't have to be a cigarette experience. They had grape, root beer, some tobacco flavor that really was more like buttered popcorn, and something else. I got to choose a bunch of flavors, and so it was that opened my eyes to the world of possibilities here. I think I forgot the question, but I hope I answered it.
Yes, you definitely. Yeah, and that I got you into CASAA. That's where we were going with that.
Right. How did I end up here? Exactly. I was watching your videos all weekend long, and there was that little outro bumper graphic and the little picking up the guitar, and CASAA waved by. And I know I've told you this, but this is my GrimmGreen joke. I thought you were promoting, like a girl band or something, but I thought, well, I'll check it out to see what these women have to offer. And I clicked on the link, and here's this hideous website for an advocacy organization, and I poked around. I wanted to see whether or not this was legit, and started following, seeing if they were even still alive. There were old posts on there, and just wanted to see if new content was coming up. And sure enough, we had people like Dimitri following the news coming out of CASAA and broadcasting it on his show, eventually I saw the CASAA was doing a fundraiser for the Igor Burstin study, the Peering Through the Mist. For those who don't know, this was an early study looking at the effects of secondhand exposure to e-liquid, basically, the vapor. And of course, we found that any risk to bystanders is nominal. In fact, it's incredibly low for the primary user. And so I donated to that $80. That's the cost of a carton of cigarettes in New Jersey that I didn't have to buy anymore. So I donated it to vaping research. Seeing CASAA promoted on your channel got me involved and made me curious. And a year later, I was asked to join the board of directors.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love that story. That's really why you're here, is because I wanted to hear
I
that
get
story again.
boy and be like, Nick, you saved my life. It's great.
Well, that's awesome. I'm happy. Obviously, I'm happy to help. I've been a big fan of CASAA, I mean, forever, since the beginning, since that first California flavor or the California vape ban was going to happen in 2009. And there was just, nothing. And then suddenly there was CASAA, and I went, okay, good. Now we have a thing. We got an org. We got a group that can help keep stuff like this at bay, like keep all this bad legislation away, as best we can. So I'm always thankful for CASAA. I'll always go to bat for CASAA. No questions asked. But we're here today because we're fundraising for CASAA. That's where we're at right now. So as it said in that email, down damn near 40%. That's crazy. Why do you think that is?
Well, we, as people may notice, this is the first time that we've ever done anything on this scale in terms.
Yes.
Businesses, be it shops or manufacturers. A lot of people have really risen to the occasion and come through when we needed the support. And so we haven't had to, reach out to the community for funding. But the decline that we're talking about happened between 2018 and 2019. And it's actually very understandable that this would happen. People should be aware, we're coming up on this deadline in September. It was originally in May. And this is the pre-market tobacco application that's due with FDA if you want to keep your products on the market. And this is something that's been in the works for well over 6 years. But in 2014, that's when we saw this draft final deeming regulation. And so everybody's known since 2014, well, not everybody, but a lot of us have known since 2014 that this is going to be, this is that steep hill that you're talking about. This is going to be a tremendous hurdle for the industry to overcome, and we don't really know what the industry is going to look like in October. So it's a pretty scary time. And if you're a manufacturer that wants to keep your products on the market, you've circled the wagons and refocused your resources to preparing that application and getting everything submitted. I mean, for some people, this is going to be a multi-million-dollar project. And that's why, we're not likely to see a whole bunch of manufacturers getting through this process right away. Unless something changes, it's going to take years for this process to get streamlined and for people to be able to share knowledge and help each other through it. And meanwhile, still being competitors on the marketplace. A lot of factors are going into this. And so, that's the resources available to our biggest funders have shrunk, and they need to focus their energy on keeping their products on the market. And so donations to CASAA and even their trade associations have dwindled over the past year.
That's really unfortunate. It seems like, from what I remember, it seems like every time, the first time I remember it was like you were saying, 2014, I guess. It seems like every time FDA makes some sort of big announcement regarding vaping or the PMTA or something like this, it seems like the industry just shrinks just a little bit, and then they make another announcement the next year in 2015, like, oh, here come the deeming regulations and PMTAs, and then it shrinks just a little bit more. And then in 2016, we get August 8th, 2016, and people just get scared, and it shrinks a little bit more. 2017, they may, more announcements, youth vaping epidemic. Industry just shrinks a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's amplified at the state and local level as well, because I live in New York, so flavors are banned here. We've been watching an aggressive assault on vaping in New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts, the big progressive states that it's unfortunate.
Drug war.
And yeah, it's been, in a way, it's sort of been this managed increment of the industry at the hand of regulations. I don't know how intentional that was, and I don't know if it provided anybody with a bit of a softer landing than just ripping the Band-Aid off and ripping things off of shelves. But yeah, it's been every step of the way. We got a bit of there was a breath of fresh air in 2017 in July when Scott Gottlieb, FDA commissioner at the time, made an announcement that FDA was sort of looking more to be in the nicotine regulation business, not the tobacco regulation, however you want to interpret that. But that was also when they made the announcement that smoke-free products like vapor products or new smokeless tobacco products or these alternative nicotine products, that they would have until 2022 to submit applications. And that's when the American Academy of Pediatricians or Physicians, AAP, jumped in and sued the FDA. And this is the court decision that we're dealing with right now. That the lawsuit was to compel FDA to enforce the deadline, this PMTA deadline. They wanted it done retroactively. They wanted to just turn back the clock to August 8th, 2018, and that would have shut everybody down almost overnight, except for, as I think one or two people have probably noted in the chat, folks going underground, which is already happening. I mean, that's the foundation of the industry. We've managed to buy as much time as possible, and as you noted, from 2009 to today, the strategy has been defend, delay. That is a tactic, that is a strategy that's accessible to us with very, very low levels of funding. We're not backed by billionaires like Michael Bloomberg. And to maybe contextualize all of this, people should keep in mind he gave $160 million to campaign tobacco and all of these other local tobacco control organizations throughout the country to ban flavors. So for our part, this is true for the trade associations and for CASAA. The most cost-effective way we can go about this is elevating consumer voices, educating lawmakers, and urging them to hold off on this legislation or regulation as long as possible. We needed to build this runway. I'm using Dimitri's analogy. We need a longer runway for the industry, and we've built that as much as we could, and here we are. This all could have been over 2 years ago, but because of the work of CASAA, because of our members, and because of the trade association stepping up, we've managed to get as much time as we can.
And I've said this before, but I saw Stefan made a great point on Facebook. I had posted this video that I did in 2009 about the California vape ban, and someone had commented and said, "Oh, I've been out of the vape industry for a few years now, but I can't believe we're still dealing with all this shit." And Stefan made a really good point and said, you can kind of take that almost as like a positive thing that we're still dealing with this, because that just means that they haven't been able to accomplish their goal yet. That means that we've been standing in their way. We've been able to extend the runway, so to speak. We've been able to keep them from doing these flavor bans. We've been able to keep them from doing these full-on vape ban prohibitions. And like I said, it's getting steeper. The hill's getting steeper, but we're still, for the meantime, keeping them from accomplishing their goals. And I think that's commendable. And I think CASAA, is a big part of that with calls to actions. And you guys organize a lot of stuff, state by state stuff. Yeah.
And, I think one of the maybe I don't know if it's heartwarming or one of the things that makes me feel good is when we hear from staffers or lawmakers that on this issue, this is the most engagement they've seen from people on a particular issue. I know, for example, there was a committee hearing in Montana a couple years ago, or what? No, Wyoming. It was, I think, was it HB 66? I forgive me for not having the bill number.
Remember? I mean, come
on. But it. Person said this is insane. These are the most amount of messages we've committee, and so that I think we know how passionate people are about these products, and one of the things that I think everybody at CASAA, because we're consumers too, our membership is. I talk to people all the time and tell them about the open rates we get on these emails, and I think we're above average as far as that goes.
Yeah. I mean, and that's huge. That's a really big deal. Now, let's assume that we can fund CASAA. It looks like there's a lot of people donating. There was a lot of X1 happening there in the chat. I'm going to read some of these super chats and give you time to think about what does CASAA look like if we can get it funded and CASAA can expand. Like, what else can CASAA do that would be what does the future of CASAA look like, apart from, I don't want to say just calls to actions, because those are a big deal and a big undertaking and critically important to the industry. What else? Where does CASAA go if we can grow CASAA?
Well, I'd love to be able to hire people. We would benefit from having a dedicated person running legislative. Right now, it's just me. I've taken my old hat as legislative director into the CEO position. We would benefit from being able to hire lobbyists. We have had to rely. I think I mentioned that in the letter this morning that we've had to rely on industry lobbyists sometimes just to even get seats at committee hearings, and so we can't continue to depend on the kindness of industry for our resources. Getting a government relations team would be excellent. I would love to have staff all over the country to help monitor state and local legislation. Right now, we rely again on another industry association for that intel, there's some pretty big inefficiencies I think that we could solve with being able to hire more people and expand our programs. And something else that the community has been screaming for years is some sort of media campaign, not these sort of one-off. We at some point probably we need to kind of alternate path to go around that, and we need to win out on the street. Mm-hmm. We need to change public opinion about nicotine. Yes. We need to change public opinion about low-risk alternatives to cigarettes, and that doesn't happen when we're sort of shouting at each other right. in an echo. So I think people aware of ad buys in specific districts that, I don't know how many times that commercial ran, but it was 6 figures, probably high 6 figures, just to do one commercial in one congressional district. And that would wipe out our budget for more than a year. we just would not be able to afford that based on what we've taken in probably from the beginning of the organization. So that would be great. And that, being able to hire a PR firm, a lot of this comes down to being able to expand the people we have on this organization to produce programs and services. And, I have to just sort of float the idea, but there's another organization out there that I follow pretty closely, and we've actually worked or had some good conversations with the former executive director, actually the founder, Ethan Nadelman of the Drug Policy Alliance, and I'd recommend everybody to go check out their site too. The Drug Policy Alliance has it's an educational program. It's designed for schools, and it's called I believe it's the Safer Use Program. They actually have a tiny section in there about vaping, which is good. And the focus of their educational program is actual, real life, honest education about what drugs are, what are the consequences of using drugs, and what are the issues that you should be aware of if you are around other people who are using drugs. What do you need to know if you decide to use drugs? What do you need to know if you find somebody who has taken too many drugs, too much drugs? How to handle these situations, and ultimately how to make better decisions. Working towards not being in that difficult position where people are very tempted, almost pressured to choose substance use over some other means of dealing with whatever trauma we're with. That you can't help people who are in those types of situations by just saying no.
Right.
You can't wrap people across the knuckles and expect that to be kind and empathetic and ultimately helpful.
Yes.
So I think programs like that are something that we would, I think, enjoy the opportunity to develop. But again, none of this happens without funding or massive amounts of very talented people giving their time freely, which I think anybody listening to this knows that is incredibly difficult.
It's easier to give $5 a month than it would be to try to take on, be a part of some sort of huge project like that. And we could, with $5 a month, you could hire people to do projects like that. And, to what you were saying about, projects like that and what do you do and things like this, I hate that the go-to for all media and whatever awareness, anti-vaping, anti-youth vaping, anti-smoking is always just, like you said, rapping across the knuckles. It's like fear. That's their go-to. That's the only way they know how to communicate. We got to keep people from doing this, make them scared of it. You got to keep people from doing this, make them scared of it.
Yeah, it's an even bigger shame because there is actual research into these types of programs. The DARE campaign was something that was studied that used to be funded by our tax dollars. But they stopped funding it because research showed that program actually made the situation worse. You had young people exposed to this education who actually became more curious about substance use and ended up,
Yes. Yeah. DARE, DARE, the big success that DARE was. Well, I'm going to read some of these super chats that we got going on here, as well as I'm going to try to fix you a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get through this, Alex. I promise we'll get through this. Let me read a few of these super chats here. Hooked on Funk says, got that haircut? Yeah. Oh, I got that haircut, buddy. We need to get Alex Clark a haircut. Maybe that's where some of the CASAA money can go. Can we take $40, $50 from the CASAA donations, get Alex Clark a haircut? That would be...
I got my COVID debit card, so the government can pay for my haircut.
Yeah, the government can pay for your haircut. Yeah. And... okay, I don't want to get into that. Who got money from the government? Yeah, Kanye West and the Church of Scientology got bailouts from the government, but don't forget about that $1,200 check you got. So there's money, just not for you. Okay, Southern Comfort. What happened to Womb with a View Wednesday? Hey, you never know. That could be a thing. I'll do a live stream on Wednesday. We'll talk all about guar. Samuel Williams, the founding father. I've tried donating a few times and I keep getting an error message. Is anyone else getting the same issue? I don't know about that. I didn't see anybody in chat mentioning it. If you can't get your donation through, just try again. And if it's a small amount, just keep trying. And then if they all go through, then, the most you spent was like $10. That's fine. Matt Sinister, we're here with you, Alex. Hashtag powerbomb the world. Yes. Matt Sinister, one of my patrons, was a wrestler, like professional wrestler. So we always use the terminology, just powerbomb. We'll just powerbomb Cuomo, powerbomb Gretchen Whitmer, powerbomb the FDA, and it just finally became powerbomb the world. So there you go. Ian Thomas, very gracious of you. The comb always works, yet I prefer a brush, said the horse. I'm not 100% sure I follow you there, living hints, but I appreciate it. Not the real Gerard Butler. We'll give a yo-yo for CASAA. That's right. That's my. That's a long story to explain. Yo-yo for CASAA. Damn right. Dat Frog Paul? No, Dart Frog Paul. That's very gracious of you. See, you shouldn't be sending me super chats. We should be sending CASAA donations. Mike Berg for CASAA, very much. Ranger Man, I'm torn. I want to support the local vape shops, but I don't want to pay the 75% tax to the Massachusetts government and be limited to a tobacco flavor. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. How do you continue to support shops when they have to charge this ridiculous 75% tax in Massachusetts and they're limited to only tobacco flavors? How do you continue to support shops? That's the tough part, right?
Yeah, I wish I had better advice for you. I think if you work out the math, first of all, it's still cheaper than continuing to smoke or going back to smoking.
Yes.
But yeah, I realized that in 2013, everybody has the option of shopping online or hopping across the border. Has that option, but some people do. Sure. Well, Vermont's not much better. Vermont has a 92% wholesale tax. So yeah, it's just what an impossible situation for retailers. I honestly don't know how much longer retailers can survive as a vape devices and tobacco flavors.
Yeah.
I just there's just no good answer there.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just no good answer there. Jimmy James, that's very gracious of you. Vaping saves lives. I absolutely agree with you. Tim J, very gracious of you. Tim J says, I got a response from the governor and 2 senators from South Dakota. They were the generic response, which surprised me. They're all going by what the FDA suggests. I asked if they knew R, C, and P studies, and they said yes. Oh, Royal College of Physicians studies, and they said yes. So, okay, so they have the information. They have, info and data from the Royal College of Physicians and Public Health England, but they just, they go with what the FDA says, which, I can't blame them. I can't blame them for doing that. It's just unfortunate. Scott Runyon, very gracious of you, he says, big thanks to Alex for his tireless efforts in this uphill battle. Never give up, never surrender. I don't think giving up or surrendering is an option for Alex. I'm just going to speak for him. He's the go the distance guy. He got up on the stage at the rally and spoke and drove the crowd crazy. Huge pops. Huge pops for Alex. Sons of Liberty Radio. Love CASAA. Hit me up, Alex. Sons of Liberty. Yeah, he does a podcast. I'm sure Alex would love to go on your podcast. I don't want to speak for him, but I'll just say yes. Definitely, he will go on your podcast. Friction, very gracious of you, just donated $25 to CASAA. Hope it helps. Absolutely. Literally everything helps. If you have $2 to donate to CASAA. In fact, if you could donate $2 every month to CASAA, that would go a really, really very long way. Ranger Man says, dare? You mean drugs are real enjoyable? No, that you missed the whole point of dare, Ranger Man. You missed the whole point. Sick Boy, CASAA, na CASAA. Well done, Sick Boy. Appreciate that. Mark Lane, just because good EKG and sonogram, proof of improved health with vaping. Yeah, you know, that's have you been to the doctor since you've quit smoking at all? As far as health, Alex, have they said really, you know, could they tell that you were a previous smoker or anything like that?
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Fun story. Here in June, actually, I slipped and fell down some stairs.
Oh, bummer.
I cracked a couple ribs, and I've broken a rib before, so I know that it's painful. But at the previous, very intoxicated, and there was a skateboard involved.
Sure.
So I didn't really know what happened. But this time, I was fully conscious. 8:30 in the morning, rushing to get a cup of coffee, drugs. And I slipped, fell down the stairs, cracked ribs, and went through. I experienced something called vaping syndrome. Familiar with that?
I have never heard of such a thing. It sounds made up to me.
It's known colloquially as the wussy man's disease.
Oh.
So apparently, my body's reaction to acute pain is to just shut down.
Whoa.
And when I realized that the pain wasn't going away, I actually walked around the house for a bit. I came up to my office to get a pack of nicotine gum because I realized I was probably going to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And my wife came home. She was out doing errands, and she came home, and I went up to and sat down, and I said, I think you're going to need to take me to. And then I sort of felt the pass out coming on, and I got down on all fours and just passed out on the kitchen floor. She called 911. This is more details than any of you really needed, but as soon as I came to, I was like, why are you calling the ambulance? We can't pay for that. And
right.
You know, I passed out in the ambulance while I was sitting in front of our house. I got to the ER. I passed out again. I passed out like 4 times throughout this whole ordeal. Doctors thought I was. Clean bill of health. X-rays came back. I asked the doctors, I said, can you tell from that I was a smoker for 21 years? No.
Wow.
And they even, you know, they said we'll be able to see more with the CAT scan, but no. And no other concerning issues were brought up through that hospital stay. I even told the doctor, you know, I switched to vaping and all of this, and his response was, you know, I really wish, I think he said something like 70 or 80% of his patients, if they just stop smoking, their situation would improve tremendously. And so he was actually supportive of the fact that I had switched to vaping, which was refreshing and unexpected.
Wow.
So I got a good positive response. And then, you know, the follow-up visit, I was listed as a smoker on my records. So that's kind of weird to go from non-smoker to smoker, and I'll probably go back to non-smoker again. You know, It depends who's filling out the forms. If you vape, you're either a smoker or a non-smoker. But yeah, it was up for me.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's incredible. I had been having it turned out to be some sort of esophageal reflux that I had going on. But for a while, I was feeling these weird sort of pains in my throat and chest. And I was convinced. I kept telling Casey, I was like, I have throat cancer. I just do. That's the only thing that makes sense. I have to have throat cancer. So I immediately made an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And we talked about that. We talked about smoking. We talked about vaping. He was a real big supporter of vaping. And he kind of laughed at me when I said, I think I have throat cancer. And he looked down my throat with a camera and came back and said, well, the good news is you don't have throat cancer. Not that you're going to be so shocked by that. And he said, how long did you smoke for? I said, well, I smoked for like 15, 16 years. And he said, can't tell. Couldn't even tell. If you came in and said that you were a non-smoker your whole life, I would have believed you because you can't tell at all. And he was a big supporter of vaping. And that was one of those, in light of everything that's going on, where California Department of Public Health is telling you that nicotine's brain poisoning, going to an actual doctor and having him say, it's not only good that you smoke, but when I look down your throat as an ear, nose, and throat doctor, I can't even tell that you ever smoked. That was just very reassuring. And, it gives you a little energy, energizes you for the legislative fight. The uphill battle.
And this is another another example of a reason of why we do what we do. Your story, my story, these are accounts that are consistent with a lot of the testimonials that we've received for our testimonials project. We have accounts from people who experience the same thing. Their doctors tell that they never smoked. Their doctors are seeing a remarkable turn in their health since they switched to vaping. This is another reason all of this is very important. It might seem like, we've just been grinding out for 10 years and we're not getting anywhere. But this is how movements happen.
Yes.
When I took over, when I took this position, looking at 5-6 years or something. But I mean, realistically, we're going to be doing this in 10 more years. It's going to take that amount of time, I think, to be perfect. But to really get through to, just like your doctor, my doctor, these are important voices. I don't think we can expect them to sort of break ranks and start making public statements in favor of vaping. They are mercy of their associations, their professional associations that they're a part of. Mm-hmm. And so it's times, and of course, we have that history. Tobacco companies use doctors to advertise cigarettes. But it's still, the more people we involve, the longer that we pushing, the more likely we are to bring these voices into the movement and amplify them and get them in front of policymakers.
Yeah, because there's going to be people, exactly, your story, my story, there's going to be, like Mark Lane in the chat, there's going to be people who were smokers, who go to the doctor, who get a cleaner bill of health, who are going to be then empowered to see things and go, like, why are they banning this? Why do they want to take this away? Why do they want to take that away? This will not stand. And they'll get involved. And the more people's always going to be better. More people's always going to be better, Alex Clark.
Absolutely.
So do you want to talk about the post PMTA world a little bit? Wrap this up with some post PMTA stuff.
Yeah, as I'm hearing you say it, I see this sort of apocalyptic wasteland. But I just don't know what that's actually going to look like. But yeah, it's for I think a lot of people coming up on an ending here, and this is I think what you were talking about earlier with sort of at each sort of compliance step. The industry just sort of keeps contracting. Yeah. And, from a business perspective, this is expected, right? Products become popular, companies rise to the top, they get enormous, they absorb other companies. Yep. That's anticipated, but not quite on the pace that we've seen This is not happening naturally. It's the regulations that are crushing the industry. And so what we're going to be left on the other side product-wise, I just don't know. I know that there are probably a couple of dozen manufacturers that are submitting PMTAs for a handful of products, and who knows what's going to get approved. So people might be asking, what's the role of a consumer advocacy group in an environment where we may not have a lot of consumers anymore, certainly not on a legal regulated marketplace. Well, the way that I see this, and I think a message that we've been promoting all along, just because things happen at the federal level, things at the local and state level don't stop. And, the FDA does want to approve products.
Right.
They have to demonstrate that this approval process is working. And we'll continue to be there and say, actually, it's not, because there's not enough variety, and people, the consumers are not being served by this regulation. But while everybody's messing around with the FDA and federal legislation, New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts are banning flavors, and this is part of an organized campaign that will continue into 2021 and 2022, and you can bet your ass that if FDA approves flavored products, that campaign is only going to intensify.
Yeah.
Every turn where the FDA has giving the industry some sort of leeway or a break, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Truth Initiative, and Michael Bloomberg have all stepped up their assault on these products. So we need strong organizations to fight at the local and state levels and prevent this legislation from passing. And also, at the same time, as much as this is an ending, it is a beginning. And I think this is something I noted in the letter, that it might be kind of weird to think about it this way, but we're just now, after 11 years, we're hitting our stride.
Yeah, yeah.
And this has to carry us into the future. We need to make sure that the local and state regulations are such that when these products get approved, they are able to be sold legally to people. We don't want to see, and I think I'm speaking for not just CASAA, not just for vaping consumers, but for public health professionals. We don't want to see an underground market. There's for young people. There's no protection for your average consumer. On the off chance you get a product contaminated or just even doesn't taste very good, what recourse do you have with the seller, the manufacturer? I mean, have you ever gone back to your, the guy that sells you weed and say, hey man, you sold me a bunch of seeds and stems, I want my money back?
Right.
That's not how the black market works, and that's not an environment that we should be pressuring people into. We're having a massive national conversation about ending the drug war right now, not just because of drugs, but because of all of the other inequities that this policy has bred over the years. And in fact, we know, it's a matter of record that the drug war was intensified in order to go after people of color and people with dissenting political opinions.
Yes.
And so, this is another very dangerous arm of that philosophy, and we see that, I know I'm going off on a huge tangent here, but this is another example of laws that we need to push back against. When we see laws that criminalize purchase, use, and possession, those laws are disproportionately enforced against people of color, people who are from low income status. Certain communities and certain vulnerable communities experience this enforcement at much higher rates than white suburban people. And so these are policies we're having a very loud national conversation about that need to change.
Yes.
And this is not the time to start lumping one more thing, systemic appropriate to benefit anybody. So vaping, tobacco, nicotine, all of it, we don't want to be a part of that. And so, yes, I think most of this is, this is what's the point of having an organization like this after the industry gets hit so hard. The point is we need to fight back against this stuff. This is a social justice issue. This is a human rights issue. 100%. This is all about progressive drug policy reform, and we need to jump on the bandwagon, and this is the time to do it.
Yeah, this is the time to do it. And it's interesting because, like you talked about, we're kind of just hitting our stride now. It feels like for the last, 9 years, we've known that something is going to happen, that something needs to break, that, we've been waiting for it kind of to get pushed into the mainstream. I mean, I remember vaping back in 2010, 2011, thinking, I hope this never really gets that popular, because I don't want to deal with everything that's going to come from this. And we were all just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. And then, November, September 2019 hits. And it was kind of like, well, here we go. Kind of don't have a choice now. We're in the mainstream. We're having meetings in the White House. We've got EVALI going on. We've got PAVE going on. We've got this youth epidemic, and it was like, here we go. Here we go. Ready or not, here we go.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad to hear. I've talked to a few shop owners over the past probably month or two. And I'm glad to hear that there are some people, at least, who have seen their businesses recover from the lung injury hysteria.
Yeah.
I would have thought that it would have taken much longer for the industry to even start recovering from that. Think Tylenol. I think that was the 80s. We had the Tylenol poisoning scare.
Oh, yeah.
It to repair their reputation. But fortunately, according to the data, this lung injury hasn't been traced back to any nicotine vapor products. Yeah, so, there is probably never likely to be any nicotine liquid manufacturer that's going to get called out for this.
Yeah.
So, I sincerely hope that the public saw through this for what it was.
Yeah, I do too. And I won't keep you too much longer, Alex. I appreciate you coming on today. I appreciate everything that you do, that CASAA does. Hope we can raise some money. Hope you've been getting some donations like crazy today. I saw a lot of people in the chat donating. Obviously, I'm going to donate. All the Super Chat money today is going to donate. So we're going to have some money for you there. Is there anything just in closing that you wanted to throw out there, that you wanted to just say, hey, here it is. Here's your time right now. Alex Clark, everybody.
Well, I think if I may gush for a little bit, this was something that we knew we had to do, but because of the coronavirus and everything that everybody's been going through for the past 3 or 4 months, it's delayed a lot of things and put pressure on taking care of things. So I want people to know that the social media campaign that you're seeing, the graphics, the fancy design to the letter that we sent out this morning, that is all to the volunteer, hard, and very talented work of Danielle Jones.
Yes.
Writer in this chat.
Yes.
CASAA member. It was a load of fun to work on this project with her. And I very deeply appreciate her participation in this.
Yes.
It's better for having her on board. And also Kristen Knoll Marsh, who has been with CASAA from the beginning.
Yeah, day one.
Which is amazing. She has a blog post out there that tracks the sort of that founding thread on ECF of appointing or electing board members and getting the organization off the ground. That's how old school Kristen is. And she also does a lot of work. All the posts that you see, the daily heads up stuff, and a lot of our social media is also being managed by her. She is one of 2 part-time employees that we have. So she handles a lot of work for the little bit of money that we can pay her, and also very deeply appreciative of her work. And just so everybody knows, our board of directors are all volunteers. They do this. They see these products that's available for people. We have all experienced the benefits of switching. It's an amazing group of people to work with. I am very, very privileged to be in their company and share this platform with them. So just a huge thank you to everybody at CASAA and of course everybody who's participating in this fundraiser right now, and everybody who's sending messages right now is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, 800%. And yeah, that's, you know what, that was a lot of feels. That was a lot of feels. And I completely agree. Kristen Noel Marsh, incredible person. Danielle Jones, one of the most talented people, one of the most honestly, truly caring people. She really, truly cares about this industry, and she's a credit. I'm so thankful that we have her. I'm so thankful that we have her. I'm so thankful that we have you. I'm so thankful that we have CASAA. Damn it. Okay, group hug. Here we go. Yeah, just group hug, just like that. All right, Alex. Well, I'm going to let you go. I'm just going to finish up this here. We're going to do some super chats, but I'll let you go because I know you want to turn that air conditioning back on. Because I can see the glow happening.
Am I getting sticky? Yeah.
You're getting a little bit sticky there, but thank you, Alex, for coming on Tuesday Bro Tuesday. We're going to keep this fundraiser going. Alex is also going to be on, that's what she said, on Thursday, 7 p.m. California time. That's 7 o'clock California time, right after the vlog. We can chat with Alex again. We can raise some more funds for CASAA again. Let's keep this party going. Let's keep it going. And that's what I got. So thank you, Alex, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to have you back. You're always welcome here at the GrimmGreen YouTube.
Definitely.
Always. Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I'll talk at you soon.
All right.
Bye, buddy.
See ya.
Yeah. Whoops. There we go. Alex. Freaking Alex Clark from CASAA. I apologize. I know there was some cutting in and out of video, some cutting in and out of audio there as well. I'm going to send Alex a quick thank you note. But Alex and CASAA, Danielle Jones, they're doing a whole lot. They're doing a whole lot over there. I appreciate everybody. Throwing in some money, throwing down some money. All of the super chat from this Tuesday Bro Tuesday is definitely going to go to CASAA 100%. I would love to see them funded through the rest of the year. I'd love to see them funded through the rest of the next few years because, as Alex was saying, you guys, it's an uphill battle. It just keeps getting steeper. We need an organization like CASAA. We need boots on the ground, calls to actions, advocacy, activism. We need it. We need it all, and we need all you guys involved. I really appreciate it. So here's what I'm going to do for the rest of this Tuesday Bro Tuesday. You know, I had a few things to talk about, but I think we really did cover a lot. I'm going to read some, the rest of these super chats here. ACC says $2 for me, $10 for CASAA. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That actually is $12 for CASAA. That's where that money is going. Sergio, very gracious of you. Sergio with the big dollar amount there. A little help. Sergio, you have been so gracious to the GrimmGreen YouTube. I really appreciate you. And now you're being so gracious to CASAA, and I really appreciate that. Nostalgia rules. Very gracious of you for CASAA. I'm in Michigan and will work for Alex for crisp high fives. Yeah, he'll dispense you a crisp high five. I want to work with Alex just because he's just so cool. You know, the first time I met Alex, I thought, fuck, this dude's so cool. He's just cool. And he's just cool, and there's no way around it. Tim J., very gracious of you. Thanks for all you do, Alex Clark. I'm sure he'll watch this. Nick got me hooked up with you back in 2014. I hope to be giving. I will be giving and hope many can. Tim J., I really appreciate you, man. I see you around all the time. I really appreciate you. Thank you for donating to CASAA. And Wondering Woman, very gracious of you. That right there is going straight to CASAA. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. There was one thing I wanted to mention. this isn't this vaping is pro-vaping, anti-vaping thing. It's not a partisan issue as much as a lot of people want it to be a partisan issue. People talk about how the left is always against us, and it's usually the left, these liberal-run states like New York and California that are doing all these flavor bans and things like that. The anti-vape mail legislation that was introduced that has passed the House. I think it needs to go through the Senate still. It's working its way through the process. That was introduced by a Republican from Colorado. It's not a partisan issue. I wanted to share this tweet from Henry Martin. Where did it go? Henry Martin is a congressional hopeful out of the state of Missouri, I believe? Question mark? HM for Congress. Where are you from? He is. Yes. Henry Martin doesn't say. Yeah, Missouri. He's a congressional hopeful from Missouri. He's a Dem, and he posted a tweet that said, "As a war veteran, I have seen firsthand the impact of cigarette dependence on our military. Vape products allow soldiers an alternative to stress-induced chain smoking. Read more in my op-ed published by Smoke Free Missouri." So I'm going to be posting a link in the description of this video as well as in the chat right there. They are both against us. It's us versus them, literally. It's not us versus the left. It's not us versus the right. It's us versus them. It's us against money. That's the big problem. It's us against people like Bloomberg. As Alex was talking about, Bloomberg heavily funds organizations like Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Truth Initiative. PAVE, Parents Against Vaping. So it's quite literally us against them. If you want to follow Henry Martin on Twitter, he posts a lot of great stuff. Doesn't always post about vaping, but the stuff he does post about vaping, I try to share it. I try to retweet it and things like that. Monthly donation. Okay. We got a couple more super chats here. Peter, very gracious of you. Monthly donation to CASAA. Love the group. Absolutely. I'll be making a monthly donation to CASAA. No questions asked. I've donated money to CASAA in the past. I'm not sure if anybody remembers BMI when they were making some really dope mods. We did the Grim Army CASAA fundraiser, and we raised something like $6,000 something plus dollars for CASAA. Mailed them a check and everything like that. I love the idea of raising money for CASAA. There might be some raffles coming up in the future. I'm trying to figure out how to get that done, but don't know quite what that looks like. Nicolaj. Hope you win that uphill battle. Hang in there. Really very much appreciate that. You just donated to CASAA, whether you intended to or not. PSS. Vaping is... I guess I can take these off now. Oh my gosh. I'm talking way too loud because I had headphones on. Vaping is a worldwide cause. This Canadian supports CASAA. What happens in the U.S. affects us all. And... you are absolutely right, PSS. Abso-freaking-lutely right, PSS. As I was saying earlier, the USA and our disgusting media reaching with their gross, slimy tentacles all over the world. It's affecting places like Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Denmark, up in the Netherlands. Yeah. Bans and things are happening in the Netherlands. Even Germany is kind of pivoting a little bit and being just a little bit more anti-vaping than they used to be. Not a ton, but just a little bit more anti-vaping than they used to be. And they're citing things that are happening in the United States. Well, in the United States, 72% of high school students vape, even though 72% of high school 72% of high school students do not vape. They're getting their information, their misinformation from the United States, and it affects us all. New Wave Dave 169, $5 because King Diamond told me to in a song. Grandma. Yes, $5. Appreciate that, New Wave Dave. Tenacious TX Vapes, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. For CASAA, you demand, Grim. 100% of that, Stan, is going to go to CASAA. And finally, we got Guido here. Very gracious of you. Mad love for all you do. Really appreciate that, Guido. Really, really very much appreciate that. Yeah, as Danielle Jones just put in the chat, you can head over to CASAA.org/donate. That's http://www.casaa.org/donate. Donate, or you can just click the link that Danielle left in the chat. For anybody watching on the replay, I'll have links down in the description. Just not only to where you can donate, where did my tab go? But also to where you can get, can we show this? Hang on. I want to show this. Hang on. This is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. Can I do this? Chrome. Oh, no. All right. Yes. Can we show this? Yeah, we can. Let's shrink this down. We got some sweet CASAA merch available, you guys. Sweet CASAA merch available. So if you don't feel like donating, which you should feel like donating, but if you don't feel like donating, then you can just buy some sweet merch. I vape, I vote, CASAA.org, I heart vaping, vape on. You got the CASAA. I love this one. Weapons of mass disruption. Got the big I vape, I vote. You got vaping save my life. I love these two. I love the weapons of mass disruption, and I love the vaping saves lives here in the green with all the little different devices, and there's even some wire, and there's like a squonker and tanks and like a coil and mods and batteries and things like that. Love that. So if you want to shop these, I'll have a link down in the description. I have a link right there in the chat as well. So I think we're good today. I think that's where we're going to wrap up this here Tuesday, Bro Tuesday. But BB, you make a great point. I don't know that there's CASAA underpants yet, but if they did make some CASAA underpants, you bet your ass I'd be wearing some CASAA underpants. 800%. 200%. More percentage than that. 200. All right, let's be reasonable about this. 220%. Everybody stay hydrated, hydro homies. Anyway, one last time. We're going to wrap this up. Huge shout out to CASAA. Huge shout out to Danielle Jones. Huge shout out to Alex Clark. Don't forget that Alex Clark is going to be on the That's What She Said program Thursday, 7 p.m. Ruby Roo's YouTube channel right after the vlog. I'll have links down in the description. I have said this before, and I will say it again. It's my pleasure, Jim McDonald. I just give a shit. I just give a shit about vaping, and I will do everything I can to support CASAA. I will do everything I can to get you guys as much information as I possibly can regarding vaping, tobacco control, tobacco harm reduction, all of that stuff. This means a lot to me. Everybody should get to quit smoking the way that we got to quit smoking. John, in the chat, the Steam Crave tank is everything I've ever wanted. Literally everything I've ever wanted. So, in closing, you don't have to do everything, but you do have to do something. Let's get involved. And the way that we get involved is we get involved with CASAA. So this doesn't end now. Go donate, repost some stuff on social media. I'll repost it on my Instagram, and we'll try to get CASAA funded. We'll try to get CASAA funded because they're critical to the operation. Critical to the operation. So one more time, thank you guys seriously so much for coming out. Remember, no matter what anybody tells you, vaping is still 95% less harmful than burning combustible tobacco cigarettes. So yeah, you guys, let's keep on vaping. Be excellent to each other, everybody. Peace.